Today on the podcast, we have an inspiring guest today. Humberto Gurmilan joins us as, working in the journalism broadcasting industry takes a lot out of you. And he's been in the industry for 25 plus years.
So yeah, I met Humberto, or Beto as he likes to be called, when we were casting for something, and we had him on, and he just kind of blew everybody away with his not just his Spanish and his pronunciation, but also his camera presence and the confidence in which he delivered his lines. And so we hired him pretty much on the spot. So
That's right, Ty. And we'll be talking about his accomplishments as a speaker as well. So stay tuned for this inspiring episode. This episode is brought to you by Portfolio Box, an online portfolio made by creatives for creatives. What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Hardwood Rod Podcast. On this week's episode, I'm joined by Humberto Gurmilan. At the age of 15, he suffered a devastating spinal cord injury, but has bounced back like no other. Today, he's an Emmy Award-winning journalist and producer with 15 years of experience in the sports industry as an anchor and a reporter. He's also the founder of the Gurmilan Foundation, as he helps others just like him conquer and fulfill their dreams. I also have Thai Tran stopping by, so it's a fun one. Enjoy. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another edition of the podcast. Today, I'm joined by a public speaker, an inspiration to many, with 25 years of experience on camera, Humberto Gurmilan. How are you?
Hey man, how's it going? Good to see you. Good to hear you. And always fun to do a podcast. Always fun to be behind the microphone. For me, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. That's definitely that's where I'm at right now, man. But I think your story is inspiring, like I said, and I wanna kind of dissect your brain a little bit, and kind of maybe you could tell the audience, how you established yourself in this kind of medium, and how you got started in with public speaking, and what is the meaning of speaking with courage. Just elaborate on that, if you will.
Right, man. Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me to be on your show. I always, like I said, at the beginning, I'm always excited to join shows that talk about communication, how to further your brand, or anything that has to do with business, because I think in this world, if you don't go out and launch your own thing, or launch yourself into something big, then you're wasting some time, right? So it's always a pleasure for me to join, and yeah, I'll share a little bit about myself. Go ahead and dissect my brain, man. It's going to be a challenge because there's a lot of stuff in there, but hopefully there's something good out of it.
25 years, right?
Yeah, but I have 25 years of experience in the media and in public speaking. I started really young when I was in high school. The first experience that I had was just an invitation to speak in front of the whole school. And I was about 16 years old, and I was terrified, and my PE teacher kind of convinced me, and I did it. And I basically just, stood in front of an audience, or sat in front of an audience of 2,000 students, and just talked for about, 12 to 15 minutes about myself and my story. It was an assembly about disability awareness. And afterwards, I realized how powerful it was and how exciting it was to me. It gave me like this big rush, and a big rush that I was missing. And it felt really good. And I said, you know what? All I need is courage, man. All I need to do is have the courage to launch and to go in front of an audience and talk. And it felt really good. And eventually that grew into a career in the media. I say that I was lacking some of that adrenaline because I was a surfer, and I'm still a surfer. But back then, I was 16 years old. I was surfing. I was living down in Tijuana, Mexico, and but at that point, I've been surfing for about 5 years, and that was pretty much my life up to the point where I got injured. I got injured in 1994. It's a long time ago, about 26 years ago. I got injured then, surfing. I was riding, a wave, and unfortunately, I dove in head first and hit the bottom of the ocean and broke my neck, and that completely changed my life. So it took a while for me to recover. It was a long journey, and I can share a little bit more about that. But just to summarize, that's kind of how I got my beginnings, or how I started in public speaking. That experience I had in high school really kind of showed me that there was a lot of power in speaking in front of an audience, because I did create a big impact in those students. And afterwards, I wasn't very, not that I wanted to do it for popularity or anything like that, but I didn't really talk to many people because I was new at that school. And so eventually, after I did that, I had people coming up to me like, telling me, hey man, that was a really cool story, I didn't know that happened, and this and that, and you're inspiring and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, okay, cool, so that's something good, right? So that's kind of where it started. Then it started developing into actually developed into a career in the media for a while.
Yeah, and I mean, before we get to that aspect, going back to when you were in high school, at 15, 16, and you mentioned you were new at that school, right?
Yeah, I was barely new because I was joining this high school since I got injured. I was going to school in Tijuana, Mexico, and I went there for many years. And when I got injured, obviously we had to move to San Diego. So I started my junior year in San Diego after the injury. So I was barely getting started in high school again, and learning. Obviously, a new language was part of it. Even though I already spoke in English, I needed, to kind of get acclimated to a whole new way of learning, a whole different school, so many things happening. And then I was dealing with a disability as well, trying to learn how to, live with disability. So that was also a challenge. So that's why I really didn't have a lot of friends at that point when I, was doing that sort of stuff in the beginning. But, obviously that opened the doors to new friendships, to new relationships, and a lot of really cool things.
Man, like there's a lot there, and I could only imagine, like, you have to be mentally tough, and going to a new school, right, learning how to adapt to the culture, and learning this new way of life that unfortunately through a passion of yours that you got injured. But with all that being said, you found something there, right, and that pretty much led you to where you're at right now. And I think what motivates you, you could say, right, is inspiring others, right, or at least giving people that type of that type of hope, and kind of just to like, hey, if I could do it, you could do it, right? Is that really what motivates you?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things. I think to start, I was mentally strong, but I think I had a really strong family, which was the most important part. I had a lot of support from my dad, from my mom, from my brother and my sister, because I have a younger brother and a younger sister that are amazing. And so alongside my mom and dad, they were kind of my pillars for my pillars of support, but they were my inspiration as well. Because I saw how hard they worked and how well they kind of came together to support me in the very difficult times that I was going through. And they were my primary inspiration. But then, people around me got inspired because of what I was doing. And then, that kind of one thing led to another. And it wasn't intentional, right? It wasn't intentional. I was just doing my thing and trying to accomplish my goals and going forward and being positive. And people would, be drawn to that, and people were getting inspired. And then obviously I started to understand that maybe one of the reasons why I got a second chance in life was because, I had to do that, and I had to just lead, and I had to go forward, and I had to have a positive attitude and inspire other people so that they can, accomplish their goals and their dreams. And so before my accident, I was already thinking of a career in journalism, a career in broadcasting. So I'm a Padres fan, unfortunately, because I'm not very good, but I love baseball. I grew up playing baseball before surfing, and one of my passions was watching the games. And I remember when I was about 10 years old, turning down the volume of the sports, of the games or the sports section, and doing play-by-play. And at that point, I knew that I wanted to do sports for a living, or broadcast sports for a living. And I knew it was a really big dream, and it was probably going to be really difficult to acquire, or to get to. And then obviously the accident happened. The injury when I was 15, about to turn 16. So everything got derailed for a while. And it wasn't until I got back to school and those experiences in public speaking happened where I started realizing, holy crap, man, I don't need to, do anything that's too physical. I can speak, I can grab a mic, I can type, I can, interview people. And as long as I work on those things, I can pretty much accomplish my goal. and that's kind of where it started, and I started heading forward.
Man, that's amazing, and that launched you to where you're at right now, and with the whole being where you were, if you could elaborate on talking in front of the camera, and just how confident you were, because I mean, with that, I mean, what could stop you, right? Like I felt like you could be in front of the camera, you could be in front of a whole arena, and it wouldn't phase you, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think it, like I said, I think it was just the fact that I understood that all I had to do was just go for it and have the courage to go for it. Obviously, a lot of times I did things that didn't go too well, but they were learning experiences. But because I had the courage to just go for it, and I would just always raise my hand or volunteer for opportunities, I started developing, that feel for either being in front of a group or being in front of the camera. And eventually, when I got to college, I started taking, college courses that had to do with the things that I wanted to do: telemedia courses, journalism courses. I joined the speech team, which was a big help for me. Super nerdy at the time, and I didn't want to do it, but I knew that broadcasters were doing that sort of stuff in college. And so I started doing those things, and that one thing led to another. Eventually, I transferred from junior college to San Diego State. I finished San Diego State. I was doing radio and public speaking there too. And eventually I was out looking for work, and I had that same confidence. At the same time, I knew that I was going to be challenged, but not that big of a challenge. But eventually it was. I mean, you can be the most confident person, but the industry, the real world and business can stomp you down if you let it. And for me, that moment came when I started looking for work after college. Even though I had a bunch of experience, I felt like I was really well prepared. I had so many things going on in my life in terms of, workshops, and I had mentors, and I had, a demo tape, a demo reel. I had, had done voiceovers and had done shows and this and that. But when I started looking for work and I started knocking on doors and dropping off my demo tape or my reel or anything like that and resume, nobody was calling, because it's such a competitive field. There's so few jobs out there. There's so few positions that you can get in the media and in broadcasting that it was a real challenge. So I looked for internships prior to that. And the funny thing is that I stopped looking, and I was ready to, kind of throw in the towel and try to figure things out and maybe try to do something else in communication. And I got a call from an internship from the Spanish language station here in San Diego, Univision, and they wanted to offer me an internship. And initially I was playing Call of Duty that day. I remember it was a Wednesday, like around noon, right before lunch or something like that. I was playing Call of Duty. I think it was Modern Warfare or something like that. It was an old one. But I was playing Call of Duty, and I said, no, I don't want to do an internship. I really need to get paid. I didn't say it that way, right? But in my head, that's kind of what was going on. Yeah. I needed to get paid at that point. And because I had a BA, and I thought I was this big shot, communicator or whatever. But I said no. Eventually, like a few minutes later, maybe like 30 minutes later, I was playing Call of Duty and getting my butt whooped on, one of those whatever servers or whatever games. And I said, you know what the hell am I doing, man? I'm here in the middle of the week, middle of the summer. I'm not working, right? I'm not doing anything productive. I'm playing video games. I said, you know what, man, I think I just passed up like a really big opportunity. So I called back real quick and I said, hey, can you still have that internship? And the lady said, you know what, lucky, I was about to call somebody else to offer it to somebody else. I said, no, please, let me get the interview. Let me do it. I'd be happy to come in whenever. Just let me know when, and I'll come in. And she set me up with an interview with the news director at Univision. And a few days later, I interviewed. And the first day I went in there, I knew that was the spot where I wanted to work. It was just so cool. Like in the movies, you see the newsroom, all the television sets, all the, screens and phones ringing and people moving around and people typing. And so it was really cool. And once I got there, it's like, oh, crap, this is where I want to be. And that's where kind of I got my first opportunity in the media.
Man, that's insane how, you could get caught up with what you're doing and you don't even think it's that important, that it's a life-changing decision or opportunity, right? And luckily, you were able to kind of, take a hold of that, and you never looked back. So pretty much from that point on, right, is what carried you to, like, the rest of your career, right?
Yeah, I mean that was the big opportunity that I got. That was the opportunity. I always say it was that internship. The thing is that the fortunate or the reality of it is that I was also ready for it, right? I did so much work and so much preparation. I sacrificed a lot of weekends doing, workshops and doing projects and at the newspaper and then covering games, for the college and doing so many things and then, traveling with the speech team and all that stuff. By the time I got there to that internship, I was ready to go. And so I only needed that, little foot in the door thing for everything to start developing. And eventually, a few months later, the guy from sports decided to move on. Actually, the guy from sports was the voice of the Chargers at the time, the guy that was doing play-by-play for the Chargers. So he would leave every other week on away games. He would leave like Thursday, Friday, obviously Saturday and Sunday, and come back on Monday to work. And there was another guy that would cover him right there. And one Friday, the guy that covered, the main guy didn't show up. So they didn't have a sports guy. They didn't have anybody that knew how to write sports, how to produce sports, and how to do anything about sports. They basically had the news guy doing it, and they were awful. And so that's where I jumped in and say, hey, I can help you guys. And one day that just, like I said, having the courage to say, hey, I can help you. And I raised my hand. I said, hey, let me help you out. Let me produce it. Let me put it together, and then I'll let you present it. And when I showed the guy all the material, because we were using tapes back in the day, those was it DVC Pro tapes, old school, and I handed him the stack of tapes with all the stories, with all the videos, and then my script, and then I said all the lower thirds and all the graphics are uploaded onto the computer. It's it's up to you now. You present it, and he said, you know what? Do you want to put your voice on this and record this? And I was like, holy crap inside. And I said, yeah, sure, I'm down. I'll do it. Because I had my demo and I shared it with him before, and he said, you want to record it? I was like, cool, yeah. And one thing led to another, and he called the boss, and I thought she was gonna shoot it down, but she said okay, and I was like, oh, stoked, and I went out to the back room and I edited. Well, actually, I recorded. My friend edited the sports section, and for the first time, after so long, and after all the things that I'd gone through, including the injury, the rehabilitation, all the hard work that I did in college and workshops and all these things that I was doing, finally got my shot, and my voice and my work went on air, and probably thousands of people saw it, which was, an awesome experience. I remember driving home and I was, about kind of wanting to cry because it was, just all this work and all the, days that I put in and all the things that I was doing and all that hope and all that, vision that I had finally kind of materialized in 2.5 minutes of sports going on air. And it was just an amazing experience.
Yeah, I could imagine that, because it's like finally, right? You have that one moment. And I mean, me being, I don't know if I mentioned, but I'm a communication major myself. And I mean, there was a lot of public speaking classes, and that was kind of my nemesis I had stage fright, and I would get like just nervousness for like, even if I knew how to present like a week in advance or 2 weeks, I would be nervous for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what it was until this day. I still kind of nervous, but it's when you got to do it a lot in order for it to kind of, at least for me, to kind of get that out of your system. And journalism is a tough, especially right now. I feel like the industry is very, if it's not saturated, it's saturated enough where there's not too many opportunities out there, especially everything going digital. Everybody's pretty much, like yourself, you said you're working remotely, and that's kind of where things are headed. I see a lot of businesses are kind of just, hey, let's just put you, in your house and you just work from there, but, the opportunity that you had, you pretty much said, hey, I could take care of this. I could handle it. I could produce it. And, with that being said, they gave you the confidence to take over it, and that's kind of
they definitely gave me the opportunity, and eventually a few months later they gave me the job at Telemundo, the next door station, and that's kind of how it all started. I got the opportunity to be a sports broadcaster for 14 years, and I've seen this whole transition that you're talking about, the whole transition from just traditional television into a more digital platform television, where you're diversifying everything that you're doing so that it goes on social media, so that it goes on your website, so that, goes out there. And it's challenging right now because it's still evolving. And so I don't even think at this point, content providers, like, because now I'm going to call them content providers, television stations, I don't think they have solved it yet. And I don't think, newspapers have solved it yet, the whole internet situation. Because it just came to like blow everything out of the water of how it was before. It was very structured before. There were different roles assigned for everybody in television and radio and all these things. And now you got people, like you said, with their phone, doing their reports from home. And that's awesome at the same time but it's also pretty crazy for the people that are out there. If you don't evolve and if you don't adjust to digital media and to the phone and to, podcasting and YouTube, streaming, and especially right now with the whole pandemic stuff, streaming is just taken off, and podcasts and vlogs and things like that. So it's definitely been a really crazy ride, but it's been a really good ride that taught me so many things and just got me so many opportunities, not only in the sports world, but also just in the community to speak in public, to do conferences, to speak in front of, whole universities and things like that. I've done so many things, documentary I mentioned prior to sitting here, and just so many things that I'm so blessed to have been able to experience it all. And now obviously I'm using all these skills and all these experiences to do the things that I'm doing right now.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've heard too, probably Ty, you have, but have you heard of the Athletic? They're pretty much laid off a lot of their employees too. It was I guess it was like a journalism kind of entity, and pretty much a lot of people from like the LA Times or they went over there. But from what I saw, they laid off probably like maybe 76 to maybe like 100 from different regions,
Wow.
So it's tough, and but it's like you said, right? You have to adapt, right? And you have to kind of extend yourself to different platforms, and and you got to showcase. I mean that's what you're doing, right? You're all over the place, I see. And you got like your online courses too, right? You're teaching online, right?
Yeah, so I'm right now. I'm a full-time, I guess you could say, full-time professor, communication professor, and journalism professor. So I teach at community colleges. I teach at a university as well, and I also started my own private venture with coaching and with public speaking. And so that's barely started a few months ago. So I'm still working on that, but I'm doing free workshops for people every month, one or two a month. I'm starting that up, so hopefully I'll have my own group of people that I'm teaching consistently, because I really believe in the power of public speaking and the power nowadays, especially of knowing how to get behind the microphone, how to get in front of the camera. And my goal is not to make superstars out of this. My goal is just to help people like my program says to have the courage to do it, because that's all it takes. You can learn how to set up a camera, you can learn how to organize your information, you can learn all those things, but the only thing that you can't learn is to gain the courage. That's something that you have to find within, and for me that's the whole purpose of what I'm doing. I'm trying to help people find their courage so that they can launch their own careers, whatever it is. If you want to be a community leader, if you want to launch your podcast, if you want to have a YouTube channel, whatever it is that you want to do, you first need to have that courage so you can go ahead and do it, and then figure out everything else as you go. And like you said, it's just a good opportunity to continue applying all the things that I've learned in the past, but now hopefully help other people accomplish their goals.
Yeah.
Do
Go ahead.
you have like a YouTube channel and stuff like that you talk about this stuff, or is it just
Yeah,
online
basically, great question, Ty, because I just started that pretty recently, so I barely started, creating my videos and some tutorials about nervousness, eye contact, and just the basic things so that people can watch and really learn. Because really, if you simplify public speak, I think that the most challenging thing about public speaking is getting over nervousness. and anxiety for doing it. Everything else is actually pretty easy to work on and to polish and to get going. But obviously, you have to learn how to control that nervousness and that anxiety. I mean, obviously, you guys are doing it here behind the microphone, and that's a big challenge for a lot of people. A lot of people freak out. They hate to hear their own voice. They hate to see their own face on camera and that sort of stuff. And that's stuff they have to, kind of get over and, find the courage to do it. And that's my whole thing, my whole philosophy, right? Find the courage. And so that's why my YouTube channel is called Speaking with Courage. My program's called Speaking with Courage. And I'm also working on a book, that's more living with courage, but that's a whole different aspect of kind of what I do. It's a whole philosophy. I think it's more of a philosophy for life and for accomplishing goals. But for me, public speaking and getting in front of the camera, grabbing the microphone or that sort of stuff and communication has been just such a huge tool. It's allowed me to do so many things. And even just the fact that, I learned how to go into a room and talk to people and communicate and network. That's just so important, nowadays. And especially nowadays that everything's so digital. Just doing that, and we're losing those skills, I think, because we can just send an email, right? But once they meet you, you still have to communicate. So it's still a very important part of networking and kind of growing your brand and growing your business and accomplishing your goals and whatever it is. If you're starting a business or if you're starting a gym or if you're starting, like I said, a show, a podcast, or whatever it is that you're doing, if you're a real estate professional, whatever it is, if you're running for office or running for the school board or anything like that, man, you definitely need communication. And I mean, there are other things that you need, and probably, our president, because he's not a very good public speaker, and this is not a political statement. A lot of people say, well, President Trump is not a good speaker, and he got to, yeah, well, that's a different ballgame, right? That's a whole different, that's the big leagues.
Yeah.
I can be a great speaker, and I'm not going to beat him in a campaign for president, November, but public speaking for us at our level in the community is just so important in whatever we're doing.
Yeah, that's very key. And would you say, as far as skill versus courage, that that courage is more important than skill?
I think it precedes skill because if you don't have the courage to go for it, then your skills will not come into play. And it's kind of like jumping into a pool, right, from a trampoline. And let's say that, it's all about just jumping into the pool and swimming to the other side. And you're probably the best swimmer ever. You're Michael Phelps. I don't know why Michael Phelps would have a fear of jumping in the pool, but let's say you're Michael Phelps in terms of swimming. But if you have, a fear of heights and you don't want to jump from the trampoline onto the pool, then, what good is your swimming skill, right? At least maybe that's a way of looking at it. But I would say that it's, both are very important. But skills, you can learn those skills. You can learn the skills, and obviously you can learn how to harness and how to gather, the courage to do it. That comes with practice. That comes with mentorship. And everybody's different. Everybody has different levels of challenges in terms of speaking in public. Not everybody's nervous. Some people are really good at it, and they're just ready to go. And I have students. I've probably taught thousands of students in my 10 years. And thousands of students, and every course and everything I teach, there's some students that are just ready to go, and I don't even need to teach them that much. And some students are a big challenge because they can't even stand up or raise their hand, right? And it's just everybody's different. But I think if you learn kind of how to gain that courage to just go for it, and maybe this is even just a philosophy in life, right? To do things, because you need the courage to launch your business. You need the courage to launch your whatever it is that you're doing. If you don't go for it, nothing's going to happen, right? Nothing's going to happen. And then, then you're sitting there and wondering what could have been. So I guess that's where my whole philosophy comes from, because I've always lived now since my accident. My whole philosophy has been, I got the second opportunity in life. I don't want to waste it. So I need to just find out how many things I can do and how many things I can accomplish. And I want to reach my potential. And once I reach it, I want to push it forward and push it further. And everything that I come up with, sometimes it gets me in trouble because I get into too many things. But man, it's been a great ride. I can't even complain, because just having that, courage to go for it, it's allowed me to do so many cool things.
That's awesome.
What do you think is the driving force behind you just going for it? Do you know what I mean? Like there were
Yeah.
times in my life when I went for it and I look back and I said, oh, I really went for that. But it was more of like an ignorance. Like I didn't know that I couldn't do it. And so I just did it.
Yeah.
So where do you think that comes from?
I don't want to get like super deep. Maybe I should, or maybe I don't know. But
You can.
I think, yeah, I'm gonna get really deep right here. I'm
Yeah.
totally gonna get deep, and it's gonna sound a little bit arrogant maybe, but I truly believe that in my case, at least, this is something that I think about and I ponder, and sometimes I say, well, what the hell drives me so hard forward into my goals? And I firmly believe that I was, given a second opportunity to accomplish great things. And I don't know what those great things are, but I'm always looking for those opportunities to do great things. So if something comes up where my heart tells me, hey, that's something that you could do, and you can do something great for other people, or just accomplish something great, then it starts kind of pulling me in that direction, and I can't help it. And like I said, it sometimes gets me in trouble because I get into too many things, but at the same time it's just giving me so many opportunities, right? So I think the driving force is that primarily. I mentioned earlier my family, just being the best I can be for my family so that they can be proud because they've supported me in everything that I've done and everything that I do. And everything that I do, I always say, it's because of my family. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to do it. And when I say family, I also say my friends, right? My close friends. So those two things, and I always as well have that faith in that, I got that second chance. So I need to, somebody wrote me, or God wrote me like a huge check. So I need to pay it back. And by paying it back, I mean accomplishing great things. So, I mean, it's kind of like a really deep few things that are driving me forward to accomplish everything that I want to accomplish. The last one is probably it's just fun. I just can't, waste time. It's just fun to do things. So that's why if you say, hey, come do our podcast, I'm not like, I'm down. Let's do it. I'd be watching Netflix, if I'm not doing this. So it's 10 times better to do a podcast, and it's much more rewarding, and it's just a bigger opportunity. You never know, when you go and launch and say, hey, I'm going to do that, and I'm just going to, go for it. You never know what other opportunities are going to open up. Right.
Yeah.
So that's my whole philosophy. Just go for it. Find that little bit of courage that you need to take that first step, and then everything else starts falling into place.
Hey, are you a photographer, designer, artist, architect, model, musician, or even a makeup artist? You gotta check out Portfolio Box. With Portfolio Box, you're not forced to use any standard theme. You can use any style for any page and create a truly unique website that reflects you and your work. If you're a creative, it's a no-brainer. Get 50% off for 12 months on all plans with promo code ROD50. That's promo code ROD50. And check out portfoliobox.net today.
So on the flip side of just going for it, when you fail, and I'm sure that many successful people have failed. Like Mark Cuban said that he's failed like millions of times, and he only has to get it right one time. Right? That's what he said. So when you get into that situation, how do you recover? Because there's a lot of people out there who listen to this and they say, "Oh, let's go for it," right? And then they hit a wall and they fail, right? And the key is to get back up and keep going. So where do you find that drive to come back from?
Yeah, I mean that's
just competition. Like, are you just a competitive person?
Yeah, part of it, but I think you're right. I mean, that's a huge part in going for it. It's knowing that you can probably hit yourself, or get stuck in front of a wall, or have challenges. Going for it's going to come with its challenges, and that's not even that's an understatement. There's so many challenges that are going to come up, and things that can come up, and all the successful people will probably say, I've failed many times and I've encountered so many challenges. I don't think there's anybody out there that has accomplished a huge goal or a goal that says, yeah, I didn't have any challenges. It was super easy. Maybe, a few people out there can say that, but you're always going to encounter challenges. So the idea of going for it needs to go side by side with the idea of, okay, eventually I'm going to, kind of run into a wall and I'm going to have to figure out how to do it. And in my case, I mean, I've failed many times as well. I started I'll give you an example. I started my first podcast about 4 years ago before resigning from my television career. And I launched it and it was doing really well, but, I just didn't have the time. I didn't have the tools. I didn't have the mentality to keep moving forward, and I had to stop, and it felt like a failure, right? Because I worked so hard to put it together. I had like really great guests, and I was doing a really good job of putting it together and publishing it, and I got my website and all these things. But eventually, I had to quit, and I had to say, you know what, this is not going to work right now, and it felt like a failure, and I still feel like a little bit of a failure. But you know what? I'm back at it, and I'm starting to do other ththings, like that. And even right now with my program and with my public speaking course and the workshops that I'm doing, the YouTube channel, those thoughts and self doubt's always going to be there, and it's going to be like, are you doing the right thing? Is this the right way of doing it? Are you wasting your time? Are you this and that? But I just keep going forward, and if I fail, if I stop and fail, it's just a learning experience. I don't remember where I saw this, but I saw a meme or something like there's only success and learning experiences, something like that. And I think it's true, because if you fail or if you run into a challenge that really kind of derails your plans, you have to look at it as an experience. It really wasn't meant to be. So, but if you can recover and you can just look at it as an opportunity to shift, to pivot, and to maybe work harder, or maybe do things differently, or maybe get help, or maybe learn more before you go forward, then it's only going to make you better. The only failure is it's not going forward and dropping things. The least you could do from a failure, from a challenge like that, is learn. Right, that's the biggest thing you can learn. And if you learn something, then you're not failing, because you're getting better and you're ready to go into the next thing. But failure is definitely fear of failure is definitely something that holds people back. I wanted to launch my foundation for so many years, and I just didn't do it because I had fear of not knowing how to do it, and I eventually did it. And looking back, it's probably one of the greatest experiences that I've had, because when we do events and we see the impact that we have on people, it's amazing. I've been wanting to write a new book for a few years, and I finally started doing it, and it feels good. I'm kind of halfway, and so that fear of failure, I mean, definitely it's going to be there for everybody. It's you just have to kind of acknowledge it and know that it's there, and know that it's going to happen. It might happen. There's a possibility that you're going to screw it up, or that something's going to challenge you, in a huge manner, and then it's how you react to it that's gonna make you a winner.
Yeah, talk to us a little bit about your foundation and how that got started, right? I mean, it's been how many years that you started that foundation?
Yeah, we started in 2015. I was going to say 2015. So we've been around for about 5 years. We're going on 6 years. In December, we're going to be 6 years old, and it's a nonprofit organization where we raise funds to support other people with disabilities. I just, for a few years and for many years, one of the things that I would do is just support other people with disabilities, by helping them get, the things that they need. Having a disability is a very expensive thing or lifestyle, especially if you don't have the resources, or if you don't have a good, medical coverage and stuff like that. So a lot of people need a lot of things. So I was so fortunate to receive so much and to get so much support that, I said I need to do something. So I would always help other people with disabilities, accomplish their goals, or get, the wheelchair that they need, or whatever it is that they need. And even just going out and speaking at schools and things like that. And eventually I said, you know what, I need to formalize this. I need to turn it into an actual organization, and so that I can receive donations and, create a bigger impact. So I got a bunch of friends and family together. I bribed them, and I got them together on a Saturday, at the conference room in our TV station. I borrowed it. They allowed me to do a meeting there, and I, brought donuts. I did a PowerPoint PowerPoint presentation. Here's the communication guy, can't speak. PowerPoint presentation. I did it for him, and I showed him, this is my plan, this is what I want to do, and this is the things that I want to do with the foundation, and we're going to raise a ton of money to help people with disabilities. And I was fortunate that everybody was like, all right, I'm in. So we started it, and now we have scholarships for people with disabilities here in San Diego. We do scholarships and grants for, adaptive athletes or athletes with disabilities that want to do, like adaptive surfing or other things. And then we also have adaptive surf camps. We take people with disabilities surfing. And then
Nice.
this year, hopefully, if, things get better in terms of the, pandemic and the health crisis, hopefully we'll have our first ever desert trip, and we're going to have adaptive off-roading. So we're going to have people with disabilities ride really cool trucks and stuff like that over the dunes and things like that. So basically just trying to help people live a more inclusive life and a more empowered life so that they, gain the confidence. Because I know for me, when I do things like that, and especially when I started surfing again, I just, felt like I was reborn, and I felt so confident that I could do so many more things, even though I was already doing a lot of things. And I realized how important that was for other people. So now I want to give that experience, hopefully with everybody else that's supporting the foundation, give other people that, that empowerment and help them really just, again, go for it, right? If you get that courage, if you get that encouragement, if you feel empowered, you're going to be more likely to go for it and to succeed in whatever you're trying to accomplish. So that's our mission right there.
I mean, that's awesome. If you go out and you kind of just even step outside and you kind of look at the world just the way you look at it normally, and you kind of do those things, it's just kind of like you live day by day, and it's kind of, you don't feel like you're in that type of like I guess like you can't do much, right? And I mean, it's awesome that you're doing this stuff.
Yeah, and the thing is that there's so many things out there, right, to experience and to live and to do. And the more you do those things, the more you fall in love with living, I think, and with life. And then your regular routine seems, like it doesn't seem as bad, right? Because now you have other things going on. So for me, even just, aside from everything that I do, my biggest activity that I do that brings me so much joy is to go surfing. And I last year I surfed, almost like twice a month, which is a lot for me. And I felt really blessed because I was able to do it. And look at it now, right? I haven't been in the water for 6-7 months, and it's, killing me really, because I want to get in the water, but we can't do it. But I'm patient because I know it's going to come back. And once I do it, I'm just going to, cherish it even more. And I did. And it's those type of activities, everybody has to find their activity or the thing that they love, that it's going to just clear your mind, make you feel good. For some people, it's going to the gym and working out. For some people, it's playing sports. For some people, it's surfing. For some people, it's dancing, right? For some people, it's, filming or photography. There's so many things, hiking, find that activity that really, gets your blood flowing, gets you excited, but also just helps you just feel good, right? And kind of, clear your mind and be reborn every time you do it. And for me, that's surfing. And I've been blessed again, extremely blessed to be able to surf again, because I for a few years or for a long period of time, I didn't think I was going to be able to do it again. Obviously because of my injury. But when it happened, I was like, holy crap, this is awesome. And I was like, okay, I need to surf more again. And I started doing it again. Obviously it took a while and took a lot of practice and a lot of help. Every time I go out surfing, I need, 4 or 5 people to kind of help me and to get me in the water, to, push me into the wave and then catch me if I fall or stuff like that. And, just in case I flip. Oh, there's so many things that could happen, but, I'm so fortunate that people are willing to do that for me. And so anytime I go surfing, it's like, best time in the world.
Yeah. Shout out to all the family members, man, and friends. Like that's kind of like, that's what they're there for. And without them, speaking, personally, it's kind of, they're always there, and for supporting you and stuff like that. So shout out to all the family members and friends.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's one of the most important things that I think you can do is have good relationships with your family. It's okay to fight and, because we're human, but, try to have good relationship with everybody, because you never know when something might happen, and they're going to be there for you 100% of the time. And so those good relationships are what are going to help you, are what going to, keep you going. Those good relationships. And sometimes I know some of you out there, or some people out there don't have their parents or their brother or sister, but but your family is also your friends. Like your close friends are your family members. They're not blood related, but they're your family members. So those friends are so important. I've also been so blessed to have really amazing friends. So you're right. Shout out to all those family members. Shout out to all those friends out there. And if anybody's listening, cherish and nurture and strengthen those relationships with those people, because they're really essential in your life. Nobody does anything by themselves. We need everybody else. We need other people to support us, to encourage us, even just to listen to us, right? And in my case, I've been blessed with a whole crazy, awesome circle of people.
That's right. That's right. Now, before we kind of wrap up, what's kind of like the most common question that you get usually when people come up to you, like for advice?
Geez, it's been a while because I'm usually the one that's talking first. But I think people, I think that question about how to how do you do so many things at the same time, and how do you get into so many things, and I just have to talk about that drive that we're talking about, the drive to accomplish things, because life is short, man. Life is actually really short, and one of my biggest fears is to look back when I'm old and when I'm not able to move around as much. I guess that's one of my fears, right? Not being able to move around and do the things that I want, kind of like when I was in a hospital. But one of my biggest fears is looking back and saying, man, I wish I would have done that. Man, I wish I would have done this and that. I regret not taking that, the shot at, whatever. So that's probably the biggest thing that people ask, how do you do it? How do you, have the will or the courage to persevere and to go for your goals? And I just share that same vision about what you just got to go for it and see if you can do the best you can, and whatever result comes up, it's probably a good one because you did it, because you tried it. But yeah, I get all sorts of questions, and I get some really silly questions about my disability and all that stuff. I don't mind. It's all about educating other people. But I've heard them all. I've heard of all questions in the world, man, and it's fun. I get to chat to people. That's the most important thing.
That's awesome. And you got any questions, Ty, before we wrap up?
No. I'm good. I enjoyed listening to everything. So.
And where can we find you, Humberto, as far as kind of your foundation, everything that you're talking about, speaking with courage? Where can we get all that info?
Yeah, if anybody wants to chat or connect with me, obviously social media, you can find me at Beto. That's my nickname, Beto, and my last name Gurmilan. So Beto Gurmilan on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook as well. But really, right now, what I'm focusing on is my Speaking with Courage program. So if you want to learn a little bit of public speaking and how to gain that courage, just go to YouTube and look me up as well for Speaking with Courage. Obviously, I have a website, humbertogurmilan.com, and you can find my story there. I have some really cool videos, surfing videos and stuff, if you wonder how I'm surfing and how I'm doing those things. And then if you want to, I send out tips and communication sometimes through email once a week, and I share thoughts and I share tutorials and videos like that at you can sign up at speakingwithcourage.com. So I got all that stuff out there, and it's all for the same reason, right? To help people not only speak with courage, but to motivate others, to help you, kind of push forward and to inspire you to accomplish whatever it is that you want to accomplish. And I'm always down for a good conversation. So not afraid to chat with you guys. So if anybody wants to hit me up and just continue chatting, maybe some of you out there are going through something difficult, maybe needed just a little advice, I'm down to do that, because I think that's part of my mission. So hit me up on social media. Hit me up on my other platforms. I'm happy to have you in my community.
There it is, guys. You guys heard it first. Reach out to Beto. He's going to give you some advice on how to, get over that fear of talking, as far as public speaking. And, he'll give you some tips on just life in general, man. And thank you for stopping by, Beto.
All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate the time. Appreciate, being able to share my story, and I appreciate the time in your podcast. I hope people got something positive out of my story, and I can't wait. Maybe down the road we can do it again. And if you guys need me to shoot anything, a video, voiceovers, let me know, man, because I'm down for it.
Sounds good. All right, Beto. Have a good one. Would you like to be on the podcast? Got something to talk about? Make sure to head over to the website at hardwoodrod.com. Leave your name and the topic you'd like to discuss, and I'll add you to the calendar.